You're going through probate in the state of Georgia. So should you use an agent who specializes in probate or just any old agent? Let's talk about that. My name is Tonya Bird, and I'm part of the Bird Group, brokered by Keller Williams Realty Atlanta Partners in the greater Atlanta area. And my husband and I, we specialize in probate. So let's dive in to really why you should focus in on an agent who actually specializes in probate rather than just using any old agent that's out there. First off, when you're dealing with selling a house in probate, it's not your typical sale. The house is actually in the estate. There's legal documents galore that you have to get in place before you can sell the house. There could be all kinds of issues with title, deferred maintenance, all kinds of things you have to deal with, not to mention having to disperse of the personal items on top of getting the house ready, which can be difficult. You could be going through a lot of grief and emotions, not only yourself, but your entire family. Can be grieving of the memories, could be fighting, could be angry at one another and arguing over who gets what. So let's just first of all say it's just not your typical sale. So now let's talk about exactly what an agent who specializes in probate does compared to a regular agent. A regular agent, when they come out of real estate school, they learn the real estate law, but beyond that, there's not a deep dive into the probate process. If you're gonna specialize in probate as a niche within real estate, you do have to go get additional training so you understand the process. And then you kind of have to understand the process in your state because every state's different. From the get-go, they understand their state deadlines. Like I understand the outline process of what it takes to get probate going, how to petition the court, how long that takes, what happens when people aren't getting along versus what they are, like how things can get delayed in the probate process with the court. So there's understanding the legal aspect of probate on a higher level than maybe a regular real estate agent would understand. They're going to know how to coordinate with the courts, with the attorneys that might be involved. They're going to help you secure the property, so making sure you get in touch with various vendors that can help with clean out, who can help with maintenance, that can help secure the property to make sure everything is secure so that the personal items can be distributed appropriately. They are going to know how to market the property appropriately. Depending on your particular situation, you may or may not have permission to sell the house without taking it in front of the court. So some of the letters of administration or testamentary can waive that and you can just go out and sell the house. But in other instances, it's not waived, and then you have to get a contract before you can petition the court to get permission to sell the house. And in those instances, the real estate agent's going to know how to market that property, how to price it appropriately to draw the right kind of buyer who's going to be willing to wait around on that kind of a timeline. And fingers crossed that nobody objects to the getting permission from the court to sell it, because then that can drag on and on. Really having an agent understand that, because oftentimes they're explaining these things to the buyer's agent because the buyer's agent might not understand how probate works. Again, this is a specialized niche that people go out and get education that most agents just don't go and get the extra education or know much about probate. They're going to know how to manage offers from regular buyers versus investors. And I love my investors, don't get me wrong. There is a time and there is in place, and there are good investors out there. But there's also investors who will prey on to the probate and try to take advantage of the situation. And as soon as you petition with probate, one of the first things that happens is your phone starts blowing up with the investors asking, do you want to sell your house? And they may have their own little forms that they want you to sign that really doesn't protect you. So having an agent kind of overlooking those things and telling you what that contract is saying so that you don't get into a situation where they're trying to wholesale, where they're trying to give you this amount of money, but they know you can really get this amount of money on the market and it closes at the same time, you receive this, and then they just made a whole chunk of money on top of what you got, which isn't fair or right. It's legal. So watching out for people who won't take advantage of the situation, making sure you're getting the highest price possible sell based on the condition. So what could go wrong if you used a regular agent? They might not understand the deadlines. They might see that you have your letters of administration or your letters of testamentary and think that you have the right to sell the house, get it under contract, take it over to the closing attorney, and the closing attorney's like, oh, you don't have the right to sell this house because it has to be petitioned first by the court to get it sold. They may not know things like you need to create an EIN number for the estate and that the distribution of funds from the sale of the house actually has to go into a bank account that's attached to that EIN number because you're going to have to pay federal taxes for the estate. They may not understand things like this. They may not have the vendors. Now, I'm going to say most agents are going to know who's a good roofer, who's a good HVAC person. Oh, I need the long cut. Who do you know? They may not know of a senior move manager who can get you white glove service and clean out the whole thing so you don't have to worry about it. They may not know of some junk removers who could just come in and take care of things for you. If you want to fix up the place, they may not know the contractors to reach out to help you do that or guide you on like, hey, I think you should use this paint color and this kind of carpet so that you can get the most amount of money. They might not know some of those tactics to getting a house ready that is in probate to sell. They may not know how to work with the courts or the attorneys or what to say or even what to ask. They also may not work with investors because heck, that could be the solution for an investor to come in and buy it. Like I said, I love my investors. They may not have that network of investors in their back pocket to bring you options like selling it off market to an investor versus selling it as is on the market versus fixing it up and selling it on the market. They may not know the appropriate marketing strategies or the verbiage to put out onto the multiple listing service so that the buyers or the investors are attracted to your house and that they're the right kind of buyers. You don't want to waste your time on a buyer who can't wait around on a deadline or can't handle deferred maintenance on a house. You want one that's ready, willing, and able, and marketing it appropriately could be key. Also, they may not know how to handle the extra layer of emotions that the executor or the administrator is going through, or how to talk to people about how to get along, how to try to get families along, whether or not we should include them in the conversations. They may not have ever navigated that. Selling houses is emotional anyways, but this is just an extra added layer of emotion with grief put on top of everything. It could be emotions of anger where people are fighting and they may not know how to navigate that. So how does the agent who specializes in probate add extra value? Well, they understand the process. They get along with the attorneys. They can talk the talk. They can walk the walk. I will always say, if I don't know, well, I'm going to research the heck out of it and then maybe go ask the question. I don't think real estate attorneys or even probate attorneys expect us as agents to know all the things about the law because we're not attorneys, just as we don't expect them to know everything of the ins and outs of real estate. So, but being able to ask the right questions to make sure that the process is going along, particularly in that probate niche, can go a long way. Probate specialists can add kind of emotional support. Oftentimes, I have been on the phone with my clients and just lend my ear because sometimes they just need to vent. Sometimes they need to vent about how angry they are at one of their family members, or sometimes they just need to cry. They need to cry because they're going through the grieving process, and a good probate specialist is going to let that be and be that ear that can hear what that person is going through so that they can feel a little bit lighter, because going through the probate process can be burdensome. The other added value that a probate specialist, somebody who specializes in it real estate wise, is protecting that asset. Well, I am in your corner. I am going to make sure that your asset's protected and you're not going to be taken advantage by an investor who comes unrepresented and you're not represented and you don't know what you're getting ready to sign. I'm going to be looking out for your best interest and working with that investor. If it is an investor buying the house, that's wonderful, but working with it so that all parties have a win-win situation, that one party's not being taken advantage of over the other. And then, as I've mentioned before, knowing what to put in the marketing. I mean, we have to put in the MLS that it is an estate, but if it's one where you have the right to sell it and you don't have to go in front of the court, it's kind of marketed just like a regular house would be marketed, versus one that has to go through the petition of the leave to sell process. We're going to market that one a little bit different. We might be a little bit more aggressive on lowering the price to attract somebody who's willing to stick around for the house. we may put special verbiage out there to the buyer and the agents to let them know that we have to have court approval. Like, don't bring a buyer who can't wait around, in other words. Here's some questions that you can ask agents to see if they specialize in probate or not. I mean, some of them might not specialize in it, but have done it before. So here's some good questions to ask agents when you're interviewing them to help represent you in the selling process. Have you handled a probate sale before? Can you walk me through the probate process in Georgia? Do you work with real estate attorneys? How do you handle things when heirs don't agree? What vendors do you recommend for clean out services or for repairs and maintenance? So if you're navigating the probate process in Georgia and you need to sell a house, feel free to reach out to me. We can help you in the greater Atlanta area or connect you to a good probate specialist in your neck of the woods. If you want to know more about probate in general for Georgia, watch this next video and I will see y'all later. Bye.